Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Matthew 7th chapter, verses 3 through 5. Normally, I would read the King James Version, but the only difference here is the words mote and beam being replaced for plank and speck, and I think people pretty much get the same idea. Unless you've got things in your camp, in your house in order, you don't get to throw stones at other people. You don't get to waggle your high and mighty fingers at anyone else when you don't have what you're in charge of straight. Now, there's this story out here about this governor from Minnesota that's now supposedly going to be running as vice president for Kamala Harris. This story about how his administration gave $100,000 to this Muslim cleric, and how that is evidence of course, him being unfit to lead or be in charge of anything in the United States, because, of course, as we know, Donald Trump is as pure and innocent as the wind-driven snow when it comes to giving money to people who hate Israel. Is that really true? Well, we're going to get into that. First of all, though, battlefield of the mind. When you're not attached emotionally to one side of the political spectrum either way, you can start to see things like motes and specks and hypocrisy. But it requires the absence of emotion. You have to look at the facts clearly, and when you do that, you'll be surprised at how much you remember. Many people have forgotten what really went on 2017, 18, 19, and 20 because of the events of the last 4 years. Well, we're going to show folks how to do that over the Florida Marquee Patreon channel. 24 cognitive biases, 24 logical fallacies that affect every single person. Doesn't matter who you are. And the only way to combat them is to know about them and be trained in how to identify them and then remove them. That's the key. It's only $1 per month over there. Even less if you sign up for an entire year. Less than $1 a month for the keys to memory that goes back years and years and years and years. Keys to being able to absent emotion from your judgment calls. A lot of people think they are and they're not. And once again, if the training over there isn't for you, it's fully refundable for 90 days. That's past the election. That's past the election from now. Go over there, kick the tires, hundreds of videos. Hundreds of videos. And if it's not for you, that dollar comes right back at you. For 3 months, actually. So up to $3. Love to have you over there. Now, let's get right into it. This guy, Assad Zaman, Muslim cleric, linked to Tim Walz. Apparently there was some money that was exchanged over the years when this guy was the governor. And this guy has made all sorts of anti-Semitic comments and has provided links to different things that are just not really, I guess, what you would call flattering to the state of Israel. This is NCGOP. Tim Walz repeatedly hosted Muslim cleric who celebrated October 7 and shared pro-Hitler website link. This thing that they're talking about down here, this movie, The Greatest Story Never Told, is something that's also popular amongst the right, those who support Donald Trump as well. But there's a bigger story here. See, yeah, $100,000, like, wow, that should disqualify him. That should be the end of him. Really? $100,000? How many of you remember this? I've talked about it numerous times, but I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, yeah. You see, when Donald Trump took office, he invited this man named Muhammadu Buhari to the White House and talked about how he was such his good friend and how they were going to sign this deal to give $600 million worth of attack aircraft to the government of Nigeria, A-29 Super Tucanos. Now, why was he doing this? Why would Trump have done this? Well, what was going on at the time, you would have had to remember. Remember the whole Boko Haram Oh, the Boko Haram girls, the kidnapping. You got to do something. Donald Trump, you have to do something. Well, this is what he did to make it look like he was being anti-Muslim, anti-Islam, fighting against terrorism. You see, this guy, Buhari, his problem with Boko Haram wasn't that they were Muslim, is that they were, in his eyes, a threat to his power base, being in control of the country. They were both Muslims. The guys that were in Boko Haram that kidnapped all the schoolgirls, they were militants and they did not recognize the Nigerian government because they didn't think it was Muslim enough. But Buhari was quoted as saying, "I will continue to show openly and inside me the total commitment to the Sharia movement that is sweeping all over the country. God willing, we will not stop the agitation for the total implementation of the Sharia." See, he agreed with Boko Haram that way. But he didn't like the fact that they were doing things within his territory that he wasn't sanctioning. Now, this guy embezzled tons of money, billions of dollars, from the Nigerian oil sector and was one of the most corrupt and vile leaders that Nigeria ever had. But the issue was that Donald Trump knew that Buhari wasn't going to be president of Nigeria forever. And he also knew that the country was mostly Muslim. But yet $600 million worth of attack aircraft was handed over to pro-Muslim, pro-Sharia folks who probably didn't lose a night's sleep over what happened on October 7th. I highly doubt, and I'll give you this link, as this is defensenews.com, that this man lost any sleep, worried one bit about what happened on October 7th. He was probably excited for it, probably celebrated it. And Donald Trump gave him $600 million worth of attack aircraft to go after Boko Haram. Now, Boko Haram and this guy actually made friends years later, but of course, you're not going to see that reporting. Here's the wiki on him, and I won't go through this, but he was a progressive and still is a progressive. He instituted universal basic income in Nigeria, $83 worth, which is a lot of money. He took power in a military coup also, by the way. And this guy was invited to the White House, handshake, good friend. Once again, President Trump meets with President Buhari of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You can watch this on your own. I'm not going to waste your time. We have too much to go through. So this measly little ridiculous $100,000 is nothing compared to that $600 million. Oh, but wait. It's my Mike Lindell moment. Wait, there's more. More, you say? Well, yes. Of course, Allah be praised. The end of the great Satan is near. How many of you remember this? The $12.5 billion in ships and helicopters and tanks and jets and missiles that Trump bragged about giving to Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. I wonder how many nights Mohammed bin Salman has laid awake wondering, gosh, I hope those people in Israel are all right. I hope that after October 7th, I hope all those Jews in Israel are okay. I wonder how many nights that's happened with this guy. So $12.5 billion to this guy and $600 million to this guy. But what makes this guy disqualified is because of $100,000 his administration gave to this guy. Yeah. Moat and Speck, anybody? Moat and Speck. Just spoke to my friend, Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who spoke with President Putin of Russia, and I expect and hope that they will be cutting back approximately 10 million barrels and maybe substantially more, which if it happens will be great for the oil and gas industry. What happens when you cut production of oil? How many people out there understand Basic Economies 101? Or I should say perhaps Basic Economics 101. To April 2020. 2 April 2020. 8 months left in his administration. And he spoke to his friend, Mohammed bin Salman, who then spoke with President Bush of Russia, to cut back production of oil and gas. What happens to the price of oil and gas, and then, of course, hit your pocketbook? What happens to it? You take it off the market, and the price goes up. How do we know this? Well, let's just talk to Donald Trump. Donald Trump and all of his, I'm sure, Israel-loving friends that we're seeing here at the UN. The OPEC monopoly must remember that gas prices are up. Now, this is going all the way back to July of 2018. And they're doing little to help. If anything, they're driving prices higher. As the United States defends many of their members for little money, that must be to reduce pricing now. How do you do that? By cutting? No. By increasing production. So here in 2018, Donald Trump is begging OPEC to increase production. 20 September, same year. Remember, OPEC monopoly must get prices down now. I thought the president could do that by himself. Isn't that the argument? We're gonna elect Donald Trump so we can have lower gas prices. I thought the president could do that by himself. It was clearly Joe Biden's fault that prices went up, right? Or was it? Or was it? Or was it that Donald Trump, in the last 8 months of his administration, got with his buddies and said, hey, it looks like I'm not going to win the next election. I need you to cut production. I need you to cut production badly so that the global supply goes down and the price goes up so I can blame it on Joe Biden. Oil prices getting too high. OPEC, please relax and take it easy. World cannot take a price hike. 25 February 2019. I'll give you this link to Tidal Max. It shows you all of the years and gas prices. And it shows something you're probably not going to like. The reality and the truth. See, in 2015, they were $2.45. In 2016, they were $2.14. Now, you can't really say that price, that average price, had anything to do with Trump because he just took office that year. Actually, he didn't. Pardon me. He didn't. He didn't take it till 2017, did he? Wasn't sworn in. And then, funny story, 214 to 242. 2018, 242 to 272. And then all of a sudden, tweet. Oh no, the price is too high. Goes down 12 cents. And then, of course, COVID-19 hits, and it collapses to 217. So, 214 in 2016 and 217 in 2020. Gas prices basically kind of went up a little bit and kind of went down a little bit. And you can have this swing in your gas bill at the pump just by choosing premium over mid-grade. It's nothing. Now, did they go up in 2021 and 2022? Sure did. Right after Trump asked his buddies, Mohammed bin Salman, and who would then talk to Putin to cut production. Just saying. We have the facts. And it gets better. Mike Lindell. It's even more. After consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals. Really? So 26 July 2017, he's against transgenders. He's against the whole gay agenda and all that kind of stuff. Yet at one time, prior to that, he wanted them to compete in his pageants. And actually, this is video, and I'll give you this as well. Tiffany Trump, Richard Grinnell, at Trump Pride campaign event 2020. Now, isn't that interesting? How in 2017, he's like, I'm totally against the whole transgender thing. I'm not going to. But then he has a Trump Pride event where he invites his daughter. Once again, I'll give you all the links. First pinned comment, you'll find them. 2021. Trying to, get all set for 2024 where we're here now. He decides to go and interview sodomite number 1, sodomite number 2, who call each other husbands. David Janet and David Rubin. David Rubin meets Donald Trump plus first interview with, I'm not even gonna. It's just sodomite number one, sodomite number two, mentally ill, deciding that it's ridiculous. And I guess this is what I'll leave with. All of the arguments I'm hearing about Kamala Harris, about how back in 1994, 30 years ago, she dated this guy named Willie Brown. Willie Brown was going through a divorce, wasn't even living with his wife at the time. They were both dating other people. And for a short time, she dated Willie Brown. This is the only evidence I can find of her involved in anything that might even remotely kind of be seen as somewhat salacious. If you think a man who is divorcing his wife, who is estranged from and separated from and living separately from his wife, is wildly inappropriate in this story, why isn't he the evil one? Why is she the evil one? Because allegedly it promoted her career? Really? Because allegedly it promoted her career. Some woman in her late 20s finding a 60-year-old man. Gosh, I wonder where that happened before. Don't give me this crap that this supermodel took one look at super hot Donald Trump when he was 60 and go, boy, my juices are flowing now. Yeah, I'm sure it had nothing to do with promoting her career whatsoever. Of course, people don't remember May 17, 2005, when liberal Democrat Donald Trump and his brand new hot supermodel wife, after their trip out to the Playboy Mansion where they hung out with Hugh Hefner and Holly Madison, went on super friendly and great buddy CNN Larry King Live. First primetime interview since their lavish January 22 wedding. And yes, of course, there were even more interviews beyond that. And to put the, cherry on top of the whipped cream, Fox News and all these people blah, blah, blah about Kamala Harris. Sean Hannity divorced his wife of 30 years. Married to this woman for 30 years. And he went on Fox News and cried about how he was a terrible husband because he had let his work overtake his life, and he worked so much because he was just so dedicated to getting the truth to people, and he just wasn't there for his family. One day later, he announces that this is the work at Fox News that kept him distracted. This was the work at Fox News that kept him distracted. After 30 years of marriage, 2 kids, left his wife, moved his mistress, Ainsley Earhart. You remember Ainsley Earhart, don't you? She's the Bible study girl at Fox News. The Bible study girl at Fox News. The one who kept Sean Hannity working so late, trying to get the truth to everybody. It was just so heartbreaking and devastating, and Sean is such a good guy. I'm going to say again, everybody's going to have a choice. I don't think either one of them is a particularly great choice. I think we had much better options in Tulsi Gabbard and Ron DeSantis and a few others. But make no mistake, if you're choosing Trump because of the economy, that is the OnlyFans choice. What does this have to do with Florida, Maki? You lost me. Well, there are people out there who have run into financial difficulties and problems. And they know that if they go on to OnlyFans and start a site where they run around in their high-priced bathing suits and underwear or whatever, perhaps less, and they sell pictures for $2 and $3 and $5 subscriptions a month, they can rake in stacks of cash to pay their bills and stay in their homes and keep their car notes paid up and pay their insurance and have groceries. And then there's other folks that have said, well, you know what? No, that's just immoral. It's immoral. I'm not going to choose to demean myself. I'm not going to do that. I would rather live on the street. I'd rather live on the side of the road in a tent. I'd rather move out in the middle of nowhere, and break a bunch of sticks together and, live out in the middle of nowhere. If I can't afford things and there's no other way around it, I'm not doing this. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Make whatever choice you want. But don't think for 1 minute that you're making a moral choice by following Mr. Trump or any of his acolytes or minions. He's given as much money to Israel haters, I would say more money to Israel haters than Kamala Harris or Walz ever has, not excusing either one of them. But this whole thing with the woman 30 years ago, back in 1994, when she was 29 years old, having a fling with an older man for 5 seconds, compared to who you thought the classiest first lady ever was? How blind can you be? I mean, if there was ever a time to read this scripture, it's now. It's now. Whether you're talking about the economy, whether you're talking about Israel, whether you're talking about morality, it's the speck in your brother's eye when you have a plank in yours. $100,000. $100,000 versus $600 million to this guy, and $12.5 billion to this guy. And these aren't even the only ones. And then he takes credit for gas prices that he basically drove up. And here's the tweet. Look it up. Here's the tweet where he got with his buddies overseas, and they drove up the price of gasoline just as he was to leave office. It's that simple. You can find this stuff if you look for it. Battlefield of the mind. God bless. Thank you, all of you, for signing up over at Patreon. I very, very much appreciate it. It's a tough thing on these platforms these days. There are a lot of really great channels that have had to shut down. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, well, gosh, what happened to that channel, or what happened to this other channel? They just had to go. They just had to go. A lot of them had a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of staff. They had gone all in on the YouTube thing, and I don't blame them from what they did. But I thank God every day that before it got bad enough that I started talking about the Patreon channel and having a different direction over there, because it's made the difference. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.